Welcome to Faith Speaks here at Immaculate Heart of Mary Church here on the parish in the Activity Center. I'm your host, Dick Patton. It's a pleasure to welcome you here on this lovely summer day, although I can't take the heat, but maybe the good Lord's society wants to warm us up for a change. We'll go back to summer, but it's dry up there. But anyhow, Mass was different this last Saturday, I have to say that. Nice thunderstorm, and I was waiting for us to lose the power, but we luckily didn't lose it. But you had the candles going, so anyway.
Oh, I've had church at Mass with power outages in the past.
Really?
Yeah. No. It's whatever you have to deal with, you deal with. You know, you make the most of the situation.
I don't know if it was here or if it was at St. John's way back years ago after I turned Catholic. But we had a massive, big snowstorm. Oh! But we went to, I still had Mass, and I bet there was only about 20 people there, but we went. And that was the only time I can remember going in a snowstorm to church. But it had to be, maybe it was up here, I can't remember. But I know, it had to be St. John's, but anyway.
I remember one in the 32 years I've been ordained, there was only one weekend. I remember when Bishop O'Neill, back in the 90s, there was a severe storm, winter storm coming across the state, and so he told people throughout the state, you do not have to attend Mass this weekend. It was basically to keep people off the roads for their safety and not to feel an obligation to have to attend, and so that was one time that happened. But people always need to use that discretion themselves. If it's not if they're not capable health-wise or weather-wise, then that's the responsible thing to do. And
watch it on TV with you at Notre Dame. They have Mass on Sunday, I know. It's
television, or you have options now. And obviously that's a secondary. Ideally you gather with flesh and blood people, with people in a community. The need to do that, just like a family. If a family stops getting together for meals, you start drifting apart. And I think in the same way, our church family, we need to get together for our weekly meal together and just stay in connection with, or else your identity or your sense of yourself as a community, as a people, as a church, it starts to wane. You get so tied up with the identity of the world around you and what you own, what you possess, those other standards of identity that we can get sucked into.
Well, I know Saturday I had to go over and talk to the pianist because Frank Giordano, I think his name is Frank, and I walked over to him, I think, because I always do once in a while, and I said, "Oh, your music was disgusting today." Why? I said, "I'm only kidding. It was the best I've heard." I said, "You played some of hymns that I love. Here I Am, Lord is my favorite." And I said, "You played that today," and then there was another one, "Be Not Afraid." I love that one. So I said, "You did all right." And America the Beautiful was good. But no, I love to kid him because I do love 4:30 Mass. I don't care. That's when a lot of the Heights people come out, and I know a lot of some of them, and it feels, it feels good.
Well, you should join the choir.
Oh yeah, sure. You'd love to hear my a cappella voice. Yeah. You'd sit there and you'd laugh all through it. I know you.
What they say is, if you don't like your voice, you need to sing so that God can hear it and say, "Oh, I got to change that."
Yeah, give him a lemon to suck on. But anyway, why don't you sing? I don't hear you singing too loud. I see your lips mumble and so on.
I have the wireless mic, so I don't want to over.
Oh, I know. Yes. But I will say though, when Frank's not there, you have a cassette player that has some good music on it. I noticed that.
My iPod, and I have it's a Bose boombox, so it projects through the church.
Well, what is that tape you use? That's like
I've collected over the years. Well, from when I was chaplain at Camp Fatima and Camp Bernadette, I'd have to do masses in the summer, and we didn't have musicians, so, but I would set up my speakers from my DJing. I would do dances as well at the camps. So I had for the masses, and I had religious music, especially ones that the kids could sing or participate in, and so when it happens on a weekend in church here where we don't have musicians, instead of having nothing, I like, we can at least sing with music. So, and people say they like it as a change of pace.
Well, I mean, you have a good selection when you have to resort to that. But
I try to do a mix of different styles and that people can connect with, and
I just don't like the rock music. I hate it.
we have
I
the
love tradition.
contemporary. Well, so we have different. So our 4:30 Saturday, our Sunday 8 a.m. are both more traditional, and and our 11 o'clock on Sunday is more the contemporary Christian.
Oh, yeah.
That Brian Waldron leads that, and we don't have the 4 o'clock Sunday for July and August, but Todd Fahey has been leading the music for that with his guitar. So there's different styles. There's like the Psalm 150 says, all the instruments, praise the Lord, and timbrel and harp and drums and organs and guitars or whatever, but especially the voice. The Psalms themselves, 150 songs or song lyrics, and they're very whatever they're feeling, they put it to music.
Yeah.
Whether they're happy or joyful, or if they're sad, they're angry, they're whatever it is, they bring it to the Lord. They share the experience with one another. And I think that's one of the reasons, you find music, song lyrics are ways for people to connect with experiences, with life, with each other, and for the last, the Psalms were written 1000 BC, and 3,000 years. People find inspiration, find motivation, find guidance.
I forgot to introduce when I first started. Everybody knows you as Father Ray, and that's for Father Ray Ball, but I apologize for that, but I just assume you're the regular sometimes. I'm going to bring up something, and I told you I don't want you to think I'm being a whatever, but you mentioned family, and you started something that started new here. I think last Sunday was the first one, but Father Mo is having an African mass now. I don't know how often this is going to happen, and don't get me wrong, I think it's wonderful that he's doing this, but isn't that kind of pulling us apart from it? I mean, I feel like now all of a sudden you got one thing here and here, where before we came together. Now it's like, are they going to stop coming to our masses? I mean,
no. Actually, it was one of the things is it's meant to be a both and. Is a way of connecting with, we have a large number of the African community in our community here in Concord, especially up here on the Heights, and is a way to be able to celebrate Mass that connects with the cultures that they're from, and a number of them. Father Maurice Abasilum, who is here in Concord, he's in residence at Christ the King, but he's the chaplain at the hospital, Concord Hospital, as well as the Carmelite Monastery, and he saw, a number of the Africans not participating, and he said that most of them are coming from, predominantly Catholic countries in Africa, and it was a way to reach out, to connect them with each other, with their church, and then through that to be more integrated within the parish. So the idea here is, so this past Sunday was the first one, so we're going to be having the first Sunday of each month at 1 o'clock right here at Immaculate Heart of Mary Church, 180 Loudon Road here in Concord. He will have Mass. So the first one was this past Sunday, the first Sunday in July at 1 o'clock. And it went very well. We had about 30 people. And I stepped in as well, and it was just beautiful hearing their native languages, singing hymns.
I was going to say, is it in English or is it in French or?
Well, they're singing in some of the native language that they have. Some of the songs, the readings are done in Swahili, and Father Maurice, he reads the gospel in English, and he preaches in English. So it's kind of connecting with both. And so the idea is, by coming together as an African community once a month, so that now they're able to participate the rest of the other weeks within our wider parish family.
Yeah.
And so the idea wasn't to create a separate group, but a group within a group, a community within a community, where they're and one of the things we'd like to do is now these other weeks to have them participate in the singing, so we can use some of in fact, after the Mass, I spoke to them and I said, I love your songs, and we'd love to have you sing some of these songs at our regular Sunday liturgies. And I know Brian Waldron also has mentioned wanting to include them at some of the music in the 11 o'clock Mass. So that's the idea. It's to help for us to be able to reach the Africans in their culture. And since Vatican II, the Church was very intent on the need for our faith to be enculturated within the cultures of different communities. A lot of times the Mass would be celebrated in Latin and in a very Western European cultural context. But to be able to celebrate it within an African or Native American or whatever particular cultural things that are meaningful and relevant, but not to separate. In fact, it was Martin Luther King who made the comment that the most segregated hour in America is, he said 10 o'clock on Sunday morning. Basically, the usual hour, most common hour where people gather for worship. You'd have your black churches, your white churches, and that the segregation was, to overcome that. But and I think one of the ways is by having respect for the particular culture of like the African community, and by them gathering, so that then we can incorporate more of that within our regular Sunday Masses. So it's meant to help to connect more with them.
But you can understand when I saw that in the bulletin, it's like, wait a minute, now all of a sudden it's like we're going to have two separate things, and I said, that's not good. But now you explained it, that it does make a
well, for many
difference.
years you have, you had your French Canadian churches. There's a number of them here.
Sacred Heart. Yeah.
Sacred Heart here in Concord was and then they would have the French language at the Masses and the French Canadian hymns and there's a number of churches in Manchester throughout the state. But as you found, the younger generations did not wanted the English, and a lot of these churches tend to were more of the older generation. So so it's a way to include without separating.
You made an interesting comment a few minutes ago about Vatican II and all that jazz, about incorporating people in the family. But what's odd is, you want to incorporate the African community, that's fine. But what strikes me odd is the Catholic Church wants nothing to do with the gay community. What if they want to have a Mass? No, can't do that. We don't accept that type of lifestyle in the Catholic faith. So I mean, it's almost like it's a double thing here. I mean, wait a minute, double standard. Wait a minute. One thing we can do, can't do the other thing. I mean, I saw that big thing down in the State House on June 1st. You know, yeah, okay. But still, you know, I just hear comments like that sometimes. But
well, we would want all people to feel welcome and included. The gay community members are always welcome within the church, and I understand that there was not always the experience, the feeling of that, and I think that's something that we are, you know, doubling our efforts to make all people feel welcome, and I think starting from the top with Pope Francis in the respect that every person has dignity, value, and to be
sure.
as a child of God, and that's our primary identity, and that does not go away. That doesn't someone is always to be loved and respected, and so, you know, that's definitely an area where we all need to do a better job, and we want to definitely hear in our community and in our church that no one is to be seen as second class or not worthy of being loved or celebrating Mass as a community together.
We're sitting here talking with Father Ray on Catholic Radio, WICX 102.7 FM. And you're a man of, we'll do a lighter moment for a minute, because you are a man of many hidden talents. And, you know, you took myself and 3 guests out for dinner, because I had won that raffle ticket 3 years ago. But then I find out, well, in the conversation that evening in your antique car, which was beautiful, is the fact is that you are a DJ. We knew that. We know you play softball. How in the world you do, I'll never know it. But anyway, you do once in a while. Then I find out that you're also a chauffeur with a cap and all the regalia that you wear or whatever, and doing that. Then you also do weddings dressed up like that, or you do proms, take kids to their proms. How in the world do you ever find time to do all this stuff?
Well, part of it comes from the whole thing of connecting with people, meeting people on their turf where they are, and Don Bosco, St. John Bosco, was always a hero for me in terms of someone who was a Catholic priest who basically, you know, importance of meeting youth, for example, on their turf, on the playground, on the ball field, and a place where they feel at home. And you know, instead of just saying, well, we need to see you over here in our church building or in our classroom, where maybe they don't feel as you know, as at ease, for example. But the importance of meeting them in sharing their interests, sharing their concerns, and then when you meet someone there, then you can walk together. You can accompany on the journey and lead them to where your interest is, and to help it expand their values in their life and so forth. So a number of the things you mentioned. So one of the areas, sports, you know, playing sports, and I've always enjoyed that. I've coached baseball, basketball, cross country, track over the years, a way of working with families and as well as the youth.
But you work in the North Country.
As a disc jockey, mostly youth dances. I've also done weddings. I kid around. I offer the complete wedding package. I can do the wedding. I can DJ the reception, and I have an antique car, my 1958 Plymouth Belvedere, which is also the car from the same car from the movie Christine, the Stephen King movie Christine, a book and movie, if you've ever seen that.
No,
anyway.
I haven't seen that.
And so that I have chauffeured the couple to the church, and then from the church to the reception. In fact, I remember picking up one woman once from her home with her parents, and driving her to the church, and as a DJ I had the perfect song playing as I drove them. Going to the chapel, and we're
Oh, Dixie
Gonna
cups.
get married.
Dixie cups, remember it?
So that was fun. So it's just a nice way to me of connecting with a couple. It's rare. Most of the time I'm simply doing the wedding, but that's available if,
Yeah.
especially if a couple is in need, especially they might be able to afford a complete wedding, and I can offer to be a DJ or whatever, and
Well, you
that's a
mentioned
fun.
that yesterday on TV. There was an ad that now people are getting loans for weddings because they can't afford it because the cost is so outrageous. What used to be maybe $10 a plate for a dinner is now costing $100 a plate or something like that. So I mean, it's interesting you say your wedding plans, but yeah, package. But I could see it when you were stationed assigned to Lancaster, 'cause up in the northern part of the state. There's not a lot going on up there, basically. I mean, you go to the further north, Pittsburgh, Concord, but down here, you've got to be swamped down here with. I mean, this is a big parish, and I know you're a big factor in that because of your style. I mean, let's face it. I don't see many priests that we've had that have gone out in the ball field, gone doing a DJing, all that stuff. So you really, I mean, God forbid you get transferred, they're gonna miss you. I'll miss you here, but it's just you're quiet, but inside of you is like a little piece of dynamite ready to explode with all these different features of you.
Well, I think life has a lot of layers and dimensions, and to be a part of that, and that smorgasbord of life, and to the multiple experiences, and the respect and share and learn of the interest, the way people see things or experience life, and to have that encounter, a personal encounter with people, and so I think that's always meeting people in their experience, because ultimately Christianity is built on an experience, not an idea. It's about an experience of Jesus as God, as a loving Father, that we are beloved children, that we are brothers and sisters, and to have that same experience in our own life, and then our life bears the fruit of that. And when we try to make it simply about ideas, to follow these ideas or conform to this structure, or then we lose the heart, we lose the connection, we lose the power. And so to help people have that encounter, that experience, then your life can transform and change and grow and become.
Sure.
But if you're simply about do this, don't do that, then it just becomes a moral system that you're imposing, a structure you're imposing. There's always going to be people who fall outside of it, but no one should be able to fall outside of love or respect or compassion, and that's what we need to provide, that basic foundation upon which life, community can grow, and so we're about identity rather. It needs to begin with that radical understanding of who we are, and the experience of that, not just to tell people that, but to encounter that.
I had a comment that I'll talk to you sometime in private, but more on. But it was said to me, and it really hurt a little bit. It was within the last week or so, 2 weeks, that now that I'm divorced, I shouldn't even be going to Mass. I should not even be taking, the sacraments, and the host and all that. And I thought, well, that's new. So sometime I will have a talk with you about that.
Being divorced does not keep one away from church. That you're still a full member of the church, the community, or you can still receive communion and receive all the sacraments. You should not be seeing yourself as a second-class citizen or person in the church.
It was said to me after Mass at 4:30.
I mean, Jesus himself, and that was one of the things that people took offense at. Wow, he eats with sinners. who he dines with, and he was always inclusive. There was no one that was to be. He didn't say, "Oh, you're not worthy. You can't come. You can't be a part of that." There's no instance of Jesus cutting off or excluding or
Sure.
saying you can't be a part of this. I mean, it's people who make their choices to walk away. I mean,
Sure.
Judas was a part of the Last Supper. Judas walked away.
Yeah.
But the tax collectors, the prostitutes, whatever, the sinners, people who need love the most often deserve it the least, in a sense. People who need love the most,
Sure.
and that's to have that encounter, and that's what's going to change a person's
Yeah.
life. You don't have to change your life, then you can come to us.
Sure.
No, come to us as you are. Churches that come as you are
Good.
party, in a sense.
All right.
And then you can become and become who you realize your full potential.
Well, we're going to be closing down, but thank you so much for that, and the rest of the show has been wonderful, and hope it didn't embarrass you too much, but this is Catholic Radio, WICX 102.7 FM. Thank you to my director, Brian Blackton. I am your host for Faith Speaks, Dick Patton, and have a great day, and make sure you say your prayers and thank the Lord that you made it through another day.